It is a very special report we bring you today on Car and Bike. You'd remember that Mahindra made a claim a few years ago that all its new models will always have a basic safety standard, nothing below 4 stars, ideally 5 stars on all cars. Today we test that claim on its latest absolute blockbuster of a model, the XUV700. We are at ADAC's Crash Test Lab just outside of Munich in Landsberg. Yes, the flagship is being tested and in every way possible. This is a sponsored test, meaning that the company has paid for the tests, but Global NCAP has procured the cars independently from series production. And its test protocol will be thoroughly followed. The XUV700 is being prepared like any car with lots of wires, cameras and sensors inside and out that will measure every data point of the impending crash. So things are pretty much set up now. As you can see, it's all sort of wired in, all the preliminary steps that have to be put into place before the test can actually happen. All of that's done. So it's just a last couple of things left to do, and then we're going to see the action, the actual frontal crash test, and of course the result after that. The car is now pulled back to the other end of the room from where it will travel at speed for the crash. The crash test dummies used are always of a standard average weight and height specification for all tests in a particular protocol. The rear seat has child dummies placed inside child seats. This is in compliance with the same CRS or child restraint systems that the manufacturer recommends for the particular vehicle. And yes, the car will be crashed at 64 kilometers per hour under Global NCAP protocols. Now, as you know, the Global NCAP test protocol, like any other NCAP test protocol, always uses the base variant of any model, because then, of course, the safety rating applies to the entire range. So you'd wonder, why is this then the AX3 and not the MX? Well, don't worry, we've got you covered on that. Simply put, in terms of safety equipment, build quality, even things like the wheels, the two are identical, so the rating will still apply. The engineers make sure everything is in place and then get down to applying color-coded wet paint on the dummies at strategic positions on their body. The idea is to visually analyze the impact any body part makes with any section of the car's cabin or equipment. So it is time. All preps are done and the stage is set for yet another Made in India car to be crash tested. Here we go. Organizing a test can take months. Shipping the car takes weeks, and prepping takes a few days. But the test itself takes mere seconds. All right, so the crash has just happened, and they're going to do a few of their initial checks. We can't go in just yet, but once we can, we'll go closer. But you can start to already see what part of the car has taken all of the brunt of that crash, as it were. So of course, I'm not going to make any claims here because I'm not the expert, but just going by the number of crash tests we've been here for and witnessed, you can see that what's supposed to happen is that the car is supposed to take most of that impact ahead of the passenger cabin. It appears to be the case, isn't it? You can see that most of the damage is centered around here. It hasn't really traveled too much behind what the A-pillar joint would be. And so, like I said, we still don't know. If you come in close, you're gonna see some of the gas still escaping and hissing out of the airbag. And all right, even at the back, I'm not seeing paint splotches all over the place, which is always a good sign. And remember, the technical analysis of all of this, there's a lot of data crunching. It's not something that I can tell you happens in 2 or 3 minutes. It's not like, oh, we're going to know the result now. That's something that always takes some doing because the result has to be accurately measured. We will leave the safety lab engineers to the analysis and data crunching, but time to shift our focus to the second test. Yes, a second test, this time for side impact. Once again, the preparation is intensive and takes a lot of time to ensure everything is done accurately. The current Global NCAP protocol does not make side impact testing mandatory, but to get 5 stars, it becomes necessary. So the idea of a side impact is of course a little bit different from the frontal one, simply because it's a different kind of energy absorption that the vehicle needs to do. And the idea clearly always being to protect the occupants. So the initial analysis looks good. The car seems to have done quite well. And given again some of the claims that we've heard from the company, I suppose that shouldn't come as a surprise. Remember that a side impact test is necessary if you're going for 5 stars.
With this car, well, at least the side impact protection was performing pretty good. I mean, passing comfortably the regulatory requirements. From the frontal assessment, we could also notice from at least the first view of results and the first, let's say, round of raw information, the car is looking pretty good in terms of the biomechanics of the occupants. We have also seen very roughly from the outside, the structure seems to be a stable structure as well.
And so here are the scores. Another 5-star success story from Mahindra. No surprise really, given the initial visual look I had at the car, as also the in-depth deep dive I had done with Mahindra's engineering and development team in Chennai in August. The total score for adult occupant protection is 16.03 of a maximum 17, putting the XUV700 amongst the highest 5-star ratings. Its body shell is also rated as stable. No marginal, weak or poor scores for injury parameters to the dummies too. And the XUV700 has also scored very well for child safety with a comfortable 4 stars. In fact, the highest score achieved thus far by an Indian-made car for child safety. 41.66 of a maximum 49 points shows fair to good protection for both the 18-month-old and 3-year-old child dummy. On the whole, having seatbelt pre-tensioners and reminders, ISOFIX child seat anchorage, ABS or anti-lock brakes, dual front airbags as standard help the score. Some of these are required by law, but not all. Higher variants have side and curtain airbags and even a driver knee airbag for the top spec. Speaking of which, though not required as a part of the test protocol or indeed for the 5-star rating. Since the AX7 variant offers ADAS or Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, Global NCAP decided to test the automatic emergency braking or AEB on the car. And so it took the top variant out to the Penzing Air Base near Landsberg, and the car's ADAS systems were put on test. We are happy to report that the XUV700 passed with flying colors.
We think that these technologies are definitely the ones that are going to be leading in the next decade of action to reduce or dramatically reduce all what is called injuries and fatalities as well in the vulnerable road users. The AEB system, it's not only for hitting another car. It can prevent also detects a vulnerable road user, a pedestrian, and the vehicle can stop if you don't do it on time.
The Mahindra XUV700 is the company's second 5-star safety rated car. It joins the XUV300 and Tata Punch, Altroz and Nexon as the only made in India cars to achieve the 5-star distinction.